Popeye, this is Studio City Popeye.
Which one is this?
Or not, well, north of Studios, North Hollywood. Popeye.
Ooh, all right.
Did you still out of sandwiches today?
Sorry?
You run out of sandwiches today?
Do you want a spicy or classic sandwich?
For the fries or for the what?
For the fries.
Oh, no, I didn't want the sandwich.
Do you want a classic or spicy?
Oh, thanks. Okay, great.
Wow,
Thank you very much.
that's extra?
Thank you.
No.
No,
Oh.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Bye. What did we get?
Sandwich.
Oh, we did?
They gave us a sandwich.
They gave us an extra one?
Yes, they gave us a sandwich.
Wow.
Look at this. Thank you, Popeyes. Thank you. This is the sandwich that all of America has been going crazy about.
And it was given to us.
They gave it to us.
All right.
Here, should we do the reveal? Here, let's well,
do
you
it.
can't. It's a sandwich.
It's the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Awesomeness.
Rolling.
Really? Are we already rolling?
Yep.
All right, 132. All right. Let me get in here. What are we going to start with, Director?
Lance has some notes.
Oh yeah, I have notes. So here's the situation. I will start with the thing that's most emotional to me. And that is, a couple of weeks ago, I had said that there was a sequence of events with Burisma. Now, Burisma, as you know, is the company that Hunter Biden, Biden's son, works for. Because I'm assuming that these videos are going to be seen in the year
2050.
Okay, Rick. we can't let him keep doing that.
I don't think it matters. It's like,
All right, we're losing voters. We're losing viewers right this second. So here's the deal.
so you're explaining to
so
people
what
from
happened-
the future.
Okay, what happened was the vice president's son made several $1 million
Let's
working for a company.
He was on the
called
board.
Burisma.
of the Ukrainian oil company called Burisma, and he got paid, the accepted number is, he got paid $50,000 a month for being on this board, which is $600,000 a year, though Lance has sources that pump it up to like $1 million a year. But
Okay.
the
so-
most widely accepted number is, for about 3 years, he was getting paid $50,000 a month.
Okay, so he got $3 million is what the Republicans are saying. Now, the point is that this company was under investigation by the Ukrainian district attorney named Shokin. And a few weeks ago, I told Rick that there had been a raid of Burisma's president's home, and that after that, the Vice President Biden called up the Ukraine and threatened to drop aid of $1 billion if they didn't fire Shokin. And as
You have a timeline for this?
yeah.
Because Shokin got
what was
fired.
critical in my argument was that it was pretty obvious that Biden had been bribed, because the president of Burisma gets his home raided by Shokin's people, and then Shokin ends up fired after Biden calls. And now the critical thing is that it's not just a news event. It's Rick trying to drive me nuts. So there's two things happening. There's Rick saying, "Well, where did you hear that? That's ridiculous." And then Rick said, "Well, I'm not going to believe this tomfoolery of yours. You're going to have to look it up."
And so you looked it
So
up?
I looked it up, and during the show, because you get about 2 minutes during the show to look something up during the break, and I couldn't find it. And I actually
Is this
began
something
to,
that's going to make me sick if
I
I wipe my
began
nose
to,
on it?
you know what? Wipe your nose on filthy Kleenexes, Rick, because you're nothing but trouble. So what happened was, I couldn't find the exact article that would back me up on that, and I was kind of sad because I knew it was such an important fact.
Cut to the chase. Did you find shit?
No. Actually, let me tell you what happened. I was listening to the impeachment hearings, and it comes out in the impeachment hearings. The Republicans brought it up. The Democrats didn't deny it. Not the witnesses, not the Democrat congressman. And what actually happened was, yes, Shokin had raided the president of Burisma, had raided his home. I was absolutely dead on right. And Rick just hadn't heard of it. And since I couldn't find it on the internet, Rick kind of sort of got away with that.
Well, no, I've heard of, Burisma's been the subject of 15 investigations. Ukraine, a lot of these
but you deny up and down categorically. No, he didn't. No. Shokin never raided Burisma's house. No way, that's just a fantasy. That's conspiracy. You're making that up, Lance. Oh, yes, he did.
Well, Burisma's been investigated 15 times, according to Wikipedia. But I did my own research into Burisma. Because I read a tweet that said, Burisma's really not that big a company. So I looked into it. Because you guys, being conservative, say that Trump was just trying to get to the bottom he was trying to root out corruption. So you'd think that he would be looking at the biggest source of corruption, at least in that sector. So I looked it up, and Burisma is the third largest oil company in Ukraine. It's about 4% as big as the biggest oil company, which is called Naftogaz, or however you pronounce it. Last year, Naftogaz had 9.1 billion in revenue, and Burisma had 0.4 billion, so more than 20 times as much revenue. And it turns out that Naftogaz is like a gazillion times as corrupt as Burisma. It's like super duper oligarchs like stealing infrastructure. The way it worked in Russia is also how it worked in Ukraine before they tried to clean up Ukraine, which is the people in charge hand over all these industries to their buddies and everybody becomes a billionaire. So Naftogaz was super duper corrupt, but it's weird how Trump only cared about the little teeny company that was corrupt versus the big $9.1 billion company.
Actually, in the phone call, Trump didn't even mention Burisma. He didn't mention Biden. He didn't mention Burisma. He didn't say anything about it. He just said, "When you have to work on the corruption." So you're just making that up.
Was it
wait a minute.
Well, his defenders say he's concerned about.
Well, so he's concerned about corruption.
Was it a perfect phone call?
Wait. Rick, do you deny that Shokin raided the head of Burisma's house?
No, if you got sources that say that, I
It was
believe
in
it.
the impeachment hearing.
Okay, but the deal is that Shokin was widely regarded both inside the Ukraine and out as as being corrupt and doing overall a shitty job.
Okay, and what I'm telling you is that's what Time Magazine told you.
No, I don't read Time Magazine.
Okay, the
but
Democrats.
that's what Wikipedia tells
Yeah, I know.
me.
And Wikipedia, New York Times, Washington Post, they all work together. They're a
It's a
cabal.
conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
Rick, let me finish my point. The Democrats get their talking points, okay? And one of the things they tell you is that, wait, what are we arguing about? I was trying to...
Shokin is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Shokin is shit.
Yeah, I know. Shokin is shit. Shokin is shit. I'm Rick. I've been told Shokin is shit. But he did raid the president of Burisma's house.
Okay.
And you insisted that that couldn't possibly be true.
Well, no, what I read
And
put the raid at...
What bothers me...
No, what I said wasn't necessarily true, was that they took away his Lamborghinis.
Right, and because, that they raided his house, you denied it. You just flat out denied it, and you couldn't accept it, and the reason you couldn't accept it is because the Democrats...
I think we were fighting about the Lamborghinis.
Still talking.
But okay.
Still talking.
All right.
I don't know the make of the car. The report that I heard that said his home was raided did mention Lamborghinis. So now, I'll bet if we look hard enough, we can find out the make of the car. My problem is this. Because the Democrats didn't let you believe that this had happened...
No, what? Because you like to say that I say shit that I didn't say. So, there was a raid on Burisma. I don't think
and you didn't believe me.
No, I didn't know.
Why was I looking it up if you're telling me that you didn't say that?
Because
you said, Lance,
when I looked it up,
I don't believe you.
The raid was... I mean, did you have a Republican source that said that the raid was at a certain point in time?
It was after the raid, the calls went from the Ukraine to the Bidens, and Biden insisted that Shokin be fired.
Well, anyway, it's horseshit.
Why is it horseshit? Why?
Because...
Why is it horseshit?
Because you think every mainstream fucking legitimate... Now, I admit that the New York Times has problems.
Look, don't give me a long explanation. Did Shokin raid Burisma's house or not?
You say he did, but you got to show me a source that gives this ridiculous
in the impeachment hearings.
Yeah, but did Nunez say it?
Yes, Nunez said it, but he was
Nunez
not refuted by any of the witnesses or the Democrats. They didn't say anything because they couldn't.
So find me the timeline that backs up Nunez, because Nunez has his own problems. Nunez met with...
Okay, Rick.
We were going to get to Nunez.
Shokin did not meet with Nunez. He's denying it.
Nunez is denying it.
Yeah, well, you don't have any proof of that.
Well, I don't know what the proof is. I do know that they have the receipts that... I don't know how developed the evidence against Nunez is, but there are accusations that Nunez flew over there.
Yeah, I know, they're lying. Now listen.
So what was he doing over there?
Who says he went there at all?
Because they have the travel receipts.
Nunez says he wasn't there.
They have the travel receipts.
No, he says he's got witnesses that he wasn't there.
He went to Vienna, and
he can go to Vienna.
Well, he went to Vienna. They have that. They have the itinerary where he stayed,
Rick.
And then people are saying that while he went to Vienna to meet with Shokin.
Okay, Rick.
I
want to know if Shokin was fired after raiding Burisma president's house.
Find me something in print or in...
I can't. I have congressional testimony. That's all I've got.
You've got Nunez,
a
known piece of shit.
So wait, does your whole argument rest on Shokin did not raid the president of Burisma's house?
I read an article when last time we had this argument that put the raid like years in the past, like 2012 or some shit, or 2014, like well before Biden got involved with anything, and Nunez.
No.
So find it. So
I
find
can't
it because
find it. Because I didn't know that you would be this crazy.
Because you're basing it on what Nunez says. And
but if they don't deny it, if Schiff doesn't say, look, Nunez, that's a lie, then it stands.
Really? That's
it. You have to. You can't,
really, that's
nobody,
how Congress works.
It has
But
not been refuted.
somebody.
Rick,
So wait. So it's Schiff's job that if one of his fellow Congress people says something, then Schiff has to be the fact checker on the Congress guy.
you would think that they would know. I mean,
Why would they know? Schiff just pulled this thing you're calling a fact
Rick.
out of his butt or out of somebody's.
All right, turn the camera off. Turn the camera off. Okay, we're gonna stay. It's really just take it, Rick. Okay.
You got yelling right off the bat, Director.
What are you doing, Lance?
I'm gonna have to look this up.
Do you think you can find it?
I don't know.
Well, you're talking about it.
Are you
What'd
filming
find?
still? You're still filming. Okay, turn that on. Okay, let's see.
We have.
I just want to give kudos real quick to Rick because we went to Popeyes and that chicken sandwich was. You want Bryce? Bryce had some of that.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it better than Chick-fil-A.
Ooh, made news! Breaking news!
Oh, Chick-fil-A. We should probably talk about Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A has decided to quit donating to organizations that are anti-LGBTQ.
Oh yeah.
And people are pissed. They're saying, Chick-fil-A, conservatives are saying Chick-fil-A has abandoned its guiding principles.
They quit donating to the the people that ring the bell, the Salvation Army. They didn't give them a donation this year.
Okay. Well, is the Salvation Army anti?
Salvation Army is what they were mad about?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep. Because they, it's a religious organization, Salvation Army.
Oh, yeah, well,
I
okay.
thought it was something specifically anti-LGBT.
Nope. They just this year they're passing out. They're not donating to Salvation Army.
But I guess since we're talking about Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, we were talking about how good Popeyes is and how it's a great time to be alive, unless you're a fucking chicken. And in the U.S., we slaughter 9 billion chickens a year.
Ooh.
That's more than one chicken for every person on Earth every year. But I think in the future that we will eventually be able to replicate chicken consciousness and through that create chicken heaven.
Oh.
And a chicken's brain is like yay big, all right? So, which is still pretty fucking big. A chicken can accumulate a lot of experience. But I believe we'll eventually be able to replicate chicken consciousness, and if we can do that, we can come up with something in a computer that embraces a significant percentage of all chicken experiences. Because chicken experiences aren't that varied. You have 40,000 chickens in this frickin', Tyson or Purdue, chicken factory farm. And I think if you could replicate the memory of a chicken or a bunch of chickens, you could come up with a set of chicken memories that you could input into a simulated set of chicken consciousnesses. So basically you could give these chickens an afterlife in cyberspace where they suffered through their chicken lives in this factory farm, but now they are in cyberspace chicken heaven and they're free to run around and hump other chickens and peck the very best shit off the ground and bask in the sun and do whatever chickens enjoy doing.
Okay. I'm going to try to explain something to you guys about making a show. When a subject comes up and you're on the verge of trying to answer it, you can't change the subject because then it drives the viewers crazy. The viewers were expecting me to respond to you about
You're
show
reading about shit.
Yeah, I know. You got to turn the camera off.
Okay.
You've changed the subject, and people now are having to listen to chickens. Okay? We're talking about Shokin.
We're about to have an argument about
Okay,
digressing
all right.
because, all right, so when we were kids and teenagers, you had shows like Magnum PI where they didn't have a fucking story arc from episode to episode. Fucking, like, everything was self-contained. Sometimes you'd have a special 2-episode arc, like where it would be, it was always exciting when a show said to be continued. But usually everything was wrapped up in a single hour. And, you know, Thomas Magnum gets a girlfriend, but for continuity reasons, she has to get killed because you can't have him having a girlfriend, and then this whole arc is that syndicators wanted to be able to broadcast episodes out of order, so the whole girlfriend arc had to be wrapped up in 1 or 2 episodes. But fucking now, we're more sophisticated, and you have shows like Game of Thrones that have 500 gazillion characters, and they diverge all over the motherfucking place. Like, you've got story A, it was a revolution. This has been written up in a book called Everything Bad is Good for You, where Hill Street Blues was the first show to have a bunch of parallel plot lines, where Starsky and Hutch had like a little teeny B story, like something goes on with Huggy Bear at the beginning of the show. He has an issue. The main story is solving the Starsky and Hutch mystery or whatever they were fucking around with, and then at the end you might revisit the Huggy Bear situation, but everything was pretty much straightforward. It was all A plot all the way through. Then Hill Street Blues comes along, and they have more than a dozen main characters, all with their own plots, and they're all the plots are like interweaved, and you go from one plot to another, and they digress all over the place. So I don't think it's bad to digress. People are sophisticated enough to handle a digression.
Do you feel that chickens have feelings when they?
Fucking chickens have feelings.
They hurt, like when they kill them and stuff.
Fish have feelings, which surprises a lot of people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, fucking anything with a decent-sized brain has feelings.
See,
I disagree with you. I don't think we've advanced. I think people will handle multiple plot lines. I have this theory. I was actually talking to Lance about this.
Yeah.
The golden age of television that we're in right now that everyone's talking about, it's
Yeah.
just the novelization of television.
Okay.
Thanks to technology like Netflix and stuff. Like, have you ever read Charles Dickens? Like a Charles Dickens book?
Yeah.
You're binge reading Charles Dickens. They came out a chapter like a week or a month.
Right, they were serialized.
Yeah, they were serialized. And Charles Dickens had a zillion like a whole bunch of different characters. They each had their own plot line. They all intersected.
Yeah, but like
they made like basically like television today. Like people back then could handle that. I mean, it wasn't as often, but Game of Thrones, you can go back and watch it again if you didn't catch everything the first time.
right, but it's not like Charles Dickens told one character's story in its entirety and then went on to another character. Mrs. Havisham, she pops in and out.
Yeah,
You'll eventually learn her whole fucking deal. But it's not like everybody's like, well, what the fuck? Now I want more Miss Havisham until I...
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm just saying, he did handle it weaving in and out, though, so...
Yeah, all right.
It's not.
Yeah, that's true. But okay. What do you got, Lance?
All right. First of all, I'd just like to apologize to our viewers because we were about to say something about the Ukrainian
Shokin.
president, the president of Burisma, whose name is Zlochevsky. His home was raided in 2016 at the time that Shokin, according to AMAC,
What's AMAC?
I don't know, it's in print, and it's
a conservative.
but it says here that Zlochevsky's home was raided by Ukrainian prosecutors in 2016. Shokin, because I knew you'd want to know this, was the Ukrainian prosecutor in 2016. So I think we pretty much can put that to bed.
No,
Rick.
really? Because then when does 2016? I think had 366 days in it. It was a leap year. It's
So you want me to find the date that?
well,
the
fucking
date?
Devin Nunes says that the day after Shokin raids Burisma,
No,
Joe
his-
Biden
his-
is on the phone saying, fire Shokin. And
The-
that seems like an unlike...
His- Yeah, actually, here's how it went. Karen Tramontano of Blue Star Strategies, that's Hunter Biden's law firm that was helping him, requested a meeting to discuss with the remarks alleging that Burisma of corruption. Okay, they requested the meeting in February of 2016. She, Karen Tramontano, noted that 2 high-profile U.S. citizens are affiliated with the company, including Hunter Biden as a board member. That was shortly before Biden had Shokin fired. So it was in February of 2016, and I looked up in Wikipedia because I knew you would argue about the date, and Shokin was the prosecutor general of the Ukraine in March, up until March 2016. So a month before he was fired, the guy's home was raided. Okay? Now, the reason this is so important is because you're brainwashed. Now, it's a pretty obvious thing that the New York Times and the Washington Post could have just said, look, Democrats, I know that you're brainwashed zombies, but we're going to tell you just a little smidgen of truth, and that is that Shokin was not, regardless of anything else, Shokin did raid the home of Burisma. Zlochevsky is his name.
Yeah.
And that he did order that, so he must have been doing something right. And then he couldn't have been that corrupt, and that's when
He could have been that corrupt.
Okay, but he did put pressure on the company that Hunter Biden worked for by raiding the president's home, and then a month later, or within a month of that raid, Blue Star Strategies, Hunter Biden's law firm that were representing him, were on the phone to our State Department, and then to try to get Shokin fired. I mean, we can assume they were on. We can assume they wanted something because Shokin was then fired within 30 days. Now, if you weren't brainwashed, Rick, you would already know this. We wouldn't be arguing about this right now. That's my problem. Can't the Democrats just tell you the truth and let you decide? Do you have to argue about every little thing? Does it have to be shocking for you to find out that Biden actually got this guy fired? Is that
Well, no, because
that's
that's a horseshit conclusion that you guys, you and John Solomon and the
why is
conservatives.
it horseshit? Can you explain why it's horseshit, or do you just want to keep saying it's horseshit?
I believe they've been trying
Did
to
the
get
Democrats tell you to use the word horseshit,
I
even
don't-
though you don't have a good argument?
No, I do have a good argument.
What's your argument? Why do you suppose? So Shokin did tell
All right. So
Burisma.
okay, so your
Zlochevsky's-
fucking timeline.
Yes,
Okay, so
yeah. It was in February.
Burisma gets raided in February 2016.
Correct.
And Shokin is fired
A
in
month
March.
later.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
While visiting Kiev in December 2015, that's 2 months before the raid, Joe Biden threatened Ukrainian President Poroshenko that if I didn't bring my glasses, so that if he didn't fire Shokin, that the U.S. would would hold back a billion in loan guarantees. So you're saying your timeline is February 2016, raid on Burisma. March 2016, Biden tries to get Shokin fired. But 2 months before the raid, Joe Biden is in Kyiv threatening the president of Ukraine that if he doesn't fire fucking Shokin, the U.S. would hold back $1 billion in loan guarantees.
Okay.
So you left that out of your frickin' timeline.
Well, I didn't know the date was that critical, really.
Well, you're
because-
saying the date
because-
is fucking
because-
critical.
because what you're saying is, after Biden told them to fire him, they did. That's all you're doing. That's all you're proving, Rick.
No, because your time. No, that's not all I'm doing. Biden's trying to get 2 months before the raid.
Yeah.
Joe Biden says.
Okay.
Joe Biden says this guy is corrupt, should be fired.
Okay.
Then there's a raid.
Yeah.
Then the guy, a month later, the guy gets fired. So Joe Biden, before the raid, is saying the guy should
Yes.
be fired.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not like it goes. That's
Well,
it doesn't go
all,
raid.
All that proves is that Biden told them to fire this guy, and he was putting pressure on the Burisma. That's all you've proven. You've actually made my argument for me.
No, I haven't. That's fucking. I'm not supposed to. use
And by
R
the
word.
way, if you want,
Hold on. Wait. Just hold on. Okay. And Shokin had only been prosecuted. He was appointed in February of 2015. He was a controversial appointee due to his
I don't
perceived
care- I
role
don't
in
care.
blocking prosecutions
Rick,
against.
are you reading Wikipedia again?
I am. I'm allowed to read fucking Wikipedia.
Okay, Rick.
So-
I don't care what shit you say about him. He raided Burisma's home. And then he raided Burisma's home, and Biden got him fired.
As prosecutor general, he was accused of blocking major cases against allies and influential figures and hindering the fight against corruption in Ukraine.
Well, then why was he raiding Burisma's
Street
home?
protests demanding Shokin's resignation were held. On 2nd of November 2015, there was an assassination attempt against him.
Rick, did he raid Burisma's home?
He did, but 2 months after Biden said the guy should be fired.
And then there was an attempt by Blue Star Industries to reach our State Department, and then he was fired. So yeah, our State Department and Biden wanted him fired, and he did.
Everybody wanted him fired because he was abetting corruption.
No, because he was raiding Burisma's house, and Hunter Biden was getting
So
millions of
somehow
dollars.
Joe
from Burisma.
Biden in December 2015 knew that Shokin would raid. Joe Biden is psychic, and
No, it was in keeping with his nature to raid his home because he was putting pressure on Burisma. And Biden knew that, so he asked for him to be fired.
yeah, that's horseshit. That's fucking
Well, why?
horseshit.
Why is that horseshit?
Because
Do you want me to find the exact date?
no, because the dates.
Wait.
Because there's no fucking point because the dates are right here.
I'm going to find you the exact date because
It doesn't matter. Your argument
no.
is. I gotta say it. I'm sorry, developmentally disabled people. Your argument is fucking tarded.
All right, so let's look this up on, Devin Nunes lists the date. So turn off the camera. Okay.
Rolling.
All right, let's refresh. What happened is Rick refuses to believe that there's any connection between a raid that Shokin ordered on the president of Burisma's home and Biden interceding to get Shokin fired. So I have something for the viewers at home to listen to.
This is from. It's from Devin Nunes.
Hang on. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait. I just want to clarify something. Rick's been reading his Democrat literature, so he's going to try to convince you that Devin Nunes is a very, very bad man. Okay? So all the zombies out there that are Democrats that listen to whatever Rick is listening to, Nunes bad. Don't listen to anything he says.
Just read about Nunes.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
read
You'll
about
find
him.
out he's bad. Now, I'm going to play what he has to say, Rick, and you have to sit there with your pie hole shut, okay? All right, here we go.
Can you bring it closer? Thank you, appreciate that.
An owner of Burisma's home was raided on February 2nd by the state. A meeting with new state prosecutor the same day the predecessor Victor Shokin's firing was announced? No. Did you know that Joe Biden called Ukrainian President Poroshenko at least 3 times in February 2016, shortly after the president and owner of Burisma's home was raided on February 2nd by the state prosecutor's office? No. Did you know that Devin Archer and Hunter Biden reached out to the Deputy Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, shortly after the raid on Burisma? No. So, Dr. Hill, did you know about, I don't want to go through and ask all those questions over again.
I also did not know if that's
You did not know about any of those?
No.
Okay. So, you obviously know that the president had concerns about Burisma, had concerns about 2016 election meddling.
All right,
by the
that's fine.
Ukrainians.
Now, I'll tell you what, guys, I'm doing everything I can to get Rick to understand that Biden got Shokin fired after the raid on Burisma, on the home of Burisma. Rick can't believe it. It's incomprehensible to him that this happened. Now, I've done what I can to try to help Rick, and I'm going to move on. Because there's more that I have to say on a different subject.
All right, but I get to respond, which
Okay,
is
you go ahead.
cherry-picked bullshit. Now, I read about Burisma. Burisma's been like a lot of these shitty companies in Ukraine and in the former Soviet sphere. Burisma's been investigated 15 times over the years. It hasn't even been in business that long. I think it started in like 2016. So, if you're looking for times when somebody was fucking with it, it's been investigated a lot. And Biden was calling for the firing of Shokin 2 months before this raid. So
why did he call the prosecutor, for the prosecutor to be fired within 24 hours of the raid on Burisma's home?
Well, what about all the other times they're holding up $1 billion in aid until they get rid of this corrupt prosecutor?
I don't think he's corrupt. I think he raided Burisma's home.
No, he's fucking corrupt.
And you just told me, you just made my argument. You just said Burisma's corrupt. So Shokin raids the guy's home, and now you tell me Shokin's corrupt even though he just did that. Which is it? If he raids the guy's home and Burisma's corrupt, then he's doing what he's supposed to do. And Biden should let him stay
doing
home.
your job a little bit.
No, not a little bit. He's raiding the guy's house. So you just told me that Burisma is corrupt. And then you just told me that Shokin raided his house. So that means that Shokin is trying to root out corruption.
Apparently not. Because
Because the Democrats told you not.
Fucking
How are you going to sneak out of this one?
like this. My ex-boss had an uncle, Frank, you met him, who was a New York policeman for 20 years. He didn't like arresting people. In that period of time, he arrested 6 people.
Do you have proof that Shokin did not raid Burisma's house?
No, if you say you raided the house, fine.
Okay, so do you have proof that he raided Burisma's house?
I get to make my point.
Okay, I don't want to hear about
Uncle
your-
Frank
I don't
arrested
wanna hear about
somebody
Uncle Frank.
an average of once every 3 1/3 years. So Shokin might fucking do his job once in a while.
Prove it. I want to see the document. Show me the document.
I can show you the Wikipedia article.
No, I
I
don't
can
want
show
to
you.
see. No, I want to see documents. I want to see actual documents. I want to see court documents showing that Shokin.
Now you're just being a fucking
No,
asshole.
no, I'm not. Because Blue Star Industries, there was an affidavit that I showed you a month ago
by corrupt
saying
motherfuckers,
No.
including Shokin.
Blue Star.
And also
wait
one
a
of those
minute, Blue Star Industries is Hunter Biden's lawyer.
Fine, but also one of those affidavits was, I think, retracted.
Nope.
Anyway, you're full of shit.
Okay, Rick, I want you to prove to me that the raid that Shokin made on Burisma's house was evidence that Shokin is corrupt. I want you to show me that.
It's not evidence that he was corrupt, but he was still corrupt.
But if he was raiding Burisma's house and you just admitted that Burisma was corrupt, then he was doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, Uncle Frank arrested 6 people. So how could Uncle Frank be a lazy cop? He arrested 6 people in 20 years.
Are you going to turn the camera off? You want people to watch him typing things?
I thought y'all were still arguing.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject now.
Okay.
All right? Because I won that
Fine.
argument.
Really?
Now,
Oh, please.
the subject I'm going to go to is the second thing.
Oh.
And this leads us on to something else that Rick said that was horseshit. Okay? So here's something else that Rick said that was horseshit. For almost 3 years now, I've been trying to say that the FBI. Wait, I don't want to do this unless we're working together.
Well, I can hear
Are
you.
you going to keep talking about Shokin, or can we move on to another subject?
I don't know. Shokin was corrupt. Everybody acknowledges he was corrupt.
Okay.
If you want to say he's a hero, fine. Say he's a fucking hero.
Shokin, bad man, wanted to hurt Hunter Biden. Must have been bad man.
Let's just do
now
this. Let me just do one thing. Let's Shokin corrupt
You don't have to-
returns 169,000 results.
Okay. Rick, it doesn't matter if you can find Democrats that will say he was corrupt.
Yeah, there
It
aren't.
doesn't matter. I have 3 facts. I have Burisma being corrupt. I have Shokin raiding Burisma. I have Joe Biden calling for him to be fired within the day. That's what I have. You don't have anything that's factual. You just have a lot of opinions. You're going to find some Democrat that's going to say, "Oh yes, Shokin was a bad man."
Well, I'm going off the independent UK, I guess.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter
Rick,
if they're
Rick,
in a country
Rick.
that doesn't have Democrats.
No, Rick, it doesn't matter because you haven't refuted my facts. You need to refute my facts. I don't care what
No,
you
I can.
think.
Your facts. You're taking
I
facts
don't-
and making them do shit that they don't really do.
Okay, prove that. I don't want to hear whether Shokin was corrupt.
All right. So
I don't want to hear.
he's fucking corrupt.
Okay,
a lot of
okay,
Donald
okay.
Trump says now. PolitiFact must be one of the things that's part of that conspiracy,
It
right?
is, yeah.
A lot of people are talking about the removal of a very fair prosecutor in Ukraine. Donald Trump says in July. PolitiFact says dead, fucking needle-buried, false.
Yeah, they're liars.
Nobody. Shokin was a piece of shit.
Rick, it doesn't matter though. You can't
Wait,
refute my facts.
I love this. This is a fun picture. Anti-corruption activists protest the Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin in Kyiv, July 24th, 2015. They're so pissed off about Shokin's corruption that they've set their hats on fire. I don't know. That seems to indicate a fairly high level of concern. when protesters set their heads on fire. All right. Go ahead. What's your next point? We're done with Shokin.
Okay. I don't want you to think you won that
But I'm gonna. What are you gonna do about it?
because
Get in my brain with a fucking chopstick and scramble the
I-
part that thinks that your argument is bullshit?
it doesn't matter what your opinion of Shokin is. He did raid Burisma's house. If he raided Burisma's house,
2 months after Biden said Shokin needs to be
no, we
fired.
just had a timeline. They just want.
I just
it was
showed
in
you.
February. It was in February.
2
that-
months before that, Biden went to Kiev and said Shokin needs to be fired.
Yeah,
2 months
yeah,
before
yeah.
the raid.
And
what
then-
the fuck?
And then the
what
day,
the fucking fuck?
And then the day after the raid, Biden calls up and demands that he be fired.
How do you know that he wasn't making calls solidly once or twice a week to Ukraine going, how's it going, guys? Has that asshole been fired
Why
yet?
would he be doing that?
Because they were holding up they were holding up $1 billion in aid to Ukraine. Ukraine.
So they were holding it up because
They hadn't
because
fired
they were-
Shokin.
because he was pressuring Biden's son's company.
That's not fucking it. Because 2 months before he called for him to be fired 2 months before the raid. So
But then he called him the day after the raid.
Yeah, but I would assume that I would guess that.
And how do you know Biden's son didn't ask him to do it 2 months before as well?
I don't, but
I mean, do you think that Shokin planned the raid 2 months in advance? Is that possible? In other words, do you think Shokin just woke up one morning and said, "All right, let's raid Burisma's house"? Or do you think that maybe 2 months before he was beginning to put pressure on Burisma? Do you think these things happen overnight?
I think from the day that Shokin was appointed prosecutor general, that people knew he was bullshit and were trying to get him out. He only lasted.
You're imagining that, and I'm
no,
telling
because
you,
look,
I'm
I showed you people. I showed you
I know,
protesters
I know.
with their heads on fire.
Okay, I know.
Because they
And-
were so pissed that he was prosecutor general
Okay.
from July 2015. Before that, this is
The raid was in February. The raid was in February.
of
okay?
2016.
Okay.
Shokin
And,
goes.
okay. Listen to me. Shokin would not have simply raided Burisma. There would have been something before that.
Oh, then okay, Mr. Evidence, then show me that.
Well, just use your common sense. Do you
No, but
think-
I
do you
use
think
my-
do you think a prosecutor gets in charge and then as soon as he gets in charge, he just orders a raid? Wouldn't it make sense that for 2 months previous to that, he would be trying to put pressure on Burisma?
I'm just gonna fucking say this. In my media, the media you think is all horseshit. New York Times, Washington Post, The Independent UK, sources around the world, all in this conspiracy
We have
to
sources
bring.
around the world
Yeah.
that say that Biden
All right.
was corrupt too. I have sources around the world, Rick. Now let's use our common sense. 2 months before the raid, Shokin would have been
No,
preparing
fuck
and
that.
pressuring
Fuck that. I
Burisma.
want to say fuck
He
you.
wouldn't
It's
have pressured
bullshit.
him that morning. When do you think do you immediately go to raiding the guy's house? Wouldn't there have been some preparation? Honestly, seriously, Rick, think about it. If you're the prosecutor, do you just order someone's house to be raided, or do you first file complaints with them and ask for documents?
All right, go on to the next fucking thing because you're not going to persuade me. It's go. You had your second
Well, either
thing.
way, so Biden, 2 months before the raid, asked for Shokin to be fired, and then the day after the raid, he asked for Shokin to be
But
fired.
you have no idea what other phone calls went on. Nunez and you only
Fortunately-
mentioned that one phone and I don't know how many other.
Biden called 3 times to try to get him fired the day after the raid.
Yeah, did Biden?
Why did Biden call 3 times the day after the raid?
2 months before the raid, Biden went all the way over to Kiev to say he needed to be fired.
And look what happened. 2 months later, he raided his son's company.
All right, fine. Go on to the
That
next.
means
What's your
nothing
next?
to you. It's incomprehensible to you.
It's comprehensible, but it's also cherry-picked horse shit.
Well, my question is, all right, fine. All right, so we'll go on to the second argument. Now, the second problem I have with you is that for 3 years now, you've been telling me that the FBI and the CIA were sterling characters, and that they would never dream of harming Trump because they're straight arrows that would never do anything in a conspiracy against Trump. And then, lo and behold, it turns out in the IG report,
Have you seen the IG report?
no, but they've already said that the IG report, there is a report called the Inspector General's report.
Yeah.
And it says that there was an FBI attorney that altered a document so that the FBI could get permission to spy on Trump's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Does that interest you at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I took an article out of today's LA Times about it.
Okay. What does it say?
report finds FBI errors but no bias in inquiry.
Oh.
I know, the LA Times is all part of this cabal.
No, but I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. Why would the FBI make an error that allowed them to spy on Trump's campaign?
Okay, so
What kind of an error is that?
So
I've
some-
got an error that allows me to kick your mother in the face.
all right. So one
it's a
guy
little
said,
error.
let's fucking the application for the FISA report was. Do you want to take a guess as to how many pages it was?
No.
All right, it was 412 pages long, and one of the guy, this they say a low-level FBI guy, falsified a date on one of the documents in the 412 pages in the report, and he was fired. It also says, for 3 years you've been saying that the The New York Times also reported that the draft doesn't corroborate conspiracy theories and insinuations offered by Trump and his allies about the early stages of the Russia investigation.
Well, I'm glad it
For
says
example, none of the evidence used to open the investigation came from the CIA or from a partly unverified and sometimes salacious dossier compiled by Christopher Steele. The thing you've been going off about for 3 years. The dossier was not driving the FISA report, the
Prove
FISA.
it.
Well, we're going to have to wait.
No, I don't have to wait because I have McCabe's testimony. McCabe was the head of the FBI, and he said it was the dossier.
Well,
So I've got the head of the FBI. You've got the New York Times.
well,
I'm gonna
and
go
we're going to
with
have
my-
the IG report comes out on December
No,
9th.
I'm not done yet.
The IG report
I-
comes out on December 9th, so
You
we'll
just
know
said
for
that.
sure.
You just said that.
Right, so
Okay.
in
No,
today's...
I get to talk now.
Fine.
Okay. Now, my point is this, Rick. Are you paying attention, or are you
I am.
looking for more ways to deceive people? Listen to me. Why is a low-level FBI lawyer falsifying documents?
I don't know. I don't know that part.
Well, I know why. Because he wanted to be able to spy on Trump. That's what the IG report says. He falsified a document. Why are FBI people falsifying documents, Rick? Can you explain that?
I don't
to
know.
me?
One guy fucked up one document
Well, there
and got
might be a
fired.
hell of a lot more. There might be a hell of a lot more. I'm only talking about once. My point is this. The FBI is not supposed to falsify documents when trying to get permission to spy on an American citizen.
All right. So Horowitz's report. Horowitz is the guy handpicked by Bill Barr, Trump's guy.
Barr is a bad man. Bad man.
You can tell just by
Horowitz, bad man. Don't listen to anything they say. Now, it's okay if the FBI falsifies documents. That's okay, because Barr is a very bad man.
Well, he is. He's a shitty guy.
Don't you understand that attacking somebody's character doesn't bolster your argument, Rick?
All right. So anyway, the report. The
It's
guy's
called an ad hominem argument.
fine. So Horowitz's report. The guy hired by Barr found that a low-level lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, altered an email that was used in a package of material to seek court approval to renew the wiretap against Page.
Why did he do that, Rick?
I don't know. So
Hold that
this
thought.
is
But isn't that kind of sort of important?
Wait.
Hold that thought.
Isn't that?
He didn't type in the number wrong. He changed an email.
he changed an email.
Okay.
But this isn't even the original FISA application. This is an application to renew because
Yeah, every application you renew is a new FISA application.
okay. So but this was like number 2 or number 3 because it got
I know,
renewed twice.
there were four renewals.
4 renewals. Okay, so they found.
But every one is equally important. You can't lie on any of them, Rick.
Okay.
I know as a Democrat you want to lie
But
about
they just looked into you were talking 5 applications. Is that the deal?
There were 4.
Each of them 4 applications. Each of them hundreds of pages long, and they found that one guy working on one of these applications fucked with one email, and the guy got fired. So you're saying the whole thing has to be thrown out, all 1,600 pages?
No, actually, Rick, we're just getting started nailing you guys. We're going to find out all the dirt that you Democrats under Obama did, and you're going to be very ashamed if you have any shame at all. But my point is this: why does the FBI alter documents so they can spy on my president?
Why did one guy from the FBI?
Yeah, why did he do that?
I don't know
Rick?
why he did it.
You don't know. So why don't you shut your mouth then,
Yeah, but
Rick?
you don't know.
If you don't know, then why don't you just assume something was wrong, Rick? Why are you making excuses since you don't know?
Because so you don't know either, but
No,
according to
I do know, Rick.
You know one guy fucked with a document.
Rick, I know that the FBI is not supposed to alter documents.
And so the guy got fired. So
he got fired. Rick, it didn't matter. They got the warrant. They got the warrant, Rick. So altering that document allowed the FBI to spy
I knew you'd do this.
on my president.
One fucked up thing.
I know, I understand that. It is very wrong. Do you want the police to alter documents about you when they want to lock you up?
No.
Okay, do you want the FBI to alter documents so that they can investigate people you don't like?
No. And the guy got fired.
Okay,
as he should
but
have.
they got the warrant anyway, Rick.
Yeah, because there were 411 other pages that weren't
How do you
fucked
know?
with.
But then why
Because
did he
they
alter
looked
it?
into the
Why
whole
did he
fucking
alter it?
thing.
Why did he alter
I
the
don't know.
document?
We don't know because the report isn't even out yet.
Okay,
Just
you-
according
well,
to
you
early.
don't know. The only thing
Neither
I know,
do you.
Yeah, but
Neither
I
do
know that, I
fucking
know
you.
that it's wrong to alter documents, though.
So you're
Rick.
going to make the whole thing about the one document that they found was altered out of 1,600 pages.
Rick, it's not a math thing.
It is. It is a
No,
fucking math thing.
If the FBI altered one document, that's enough to show that the FBI was deliberately spying on Trump and was willing to lie about it.
Okay,
in order
that's
to get permission.
okay.
to do it.
That's going to be your argument. That one document out of hundreds.
Yeah, it's not a math issue. I don't
It
care,
is. It's
I don't
a-
care
I'm
if
gonna-
there were 1 million documents. If they deliberately alter a document in order to get permission to spy on my president, then I am pissed off at you dirty, corrupt Democrats.
Okay, that's. I got to say that's fucking stupid. We can move on.
Just real quick, Comey under oath had said that he knew that the dossier was unverified
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Everybody knew it was fucking
So
unverified.
why would, if they knew it was unverified, why would they continue on with the investigation, knowing
Because
that?
I just read you this. None of the evidence used to open the investigation came from the partly unverified and sometimes salacious dossiers.
So they knew it
Who
was.
said that? Who said that?
The
Prove that. I want you to prove that.
I can't prove it until
No,
December.
I want you to prove it.
Okay, on December 10th, the next time we meet, it'll be.
No, you have to prove it now.
I
Like
can't.
I always have to. Go to the internet
I can
and
only.
prove it. Prove it.
The report isn't out yet. Just people are talking about the report, and according to
So why would they be leaking just this?
I don't know.
Why is it a slow leak? Does anybody want to comment on? What is that? The New York Times or what is it?
this
And
is the LA Times.
Why would it go to just liberal publications? Are they trying to lessen
Well,
the blow?
no, hold. The LA Times is not a. The LA Times is a fucking newspaper. It isn't a liberal publication.
Oh,
it's
come
a.
on, Rick,
It's the
Rick,
LA Times is.
The LA Times hasn't endorsed a Republican for 50 years.
Okay.
Are they trying
So
to
it's a
kind of lessen?
Democrat.
Are they trying to like lessen the blow a little, or try to? Because it is going to be a big deal, according to
What blow?
of this. The
Wait.
IG report is going to be massive.
Okay, so the IG report, yeah, is a big deal. So who's trying to soften the blow?
Whomever leaked that, they're trying, but I don't think it's. I don't know. I want your comment. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think that?
Well, yeah, these guys are going to say that the one fucked with document invalidates the whole fucking deal.
Who says that's the only one?
Well, okay, so maybe there are more, because this thing says, let's see, according to people familiar with the findings of an internal IG investigation, FBI officials made some sloppy but relatively minor errors when it came to seeking court approval for a surveillance warrant against former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page.
Okay, when you read it like that, it seems like if that's it, then it's no big deal, I think, quite frankly.
Yeah, it is no big deal, but these guys will make a huge fucking deal out of it.
Right.
And I don't know why the guy fucked with the deal, but we're gonna anyway on December 9th, the report comes out, and we'll find out more. All right, but this all brings me to a more general point. One of us is brainwashed, at least one of us, because what we each of us knows and thinks, they're widely different. And that leads me to the question, has civilization, including social media, reached a level of sophistication and complicatedness that it's beyond humans to deal with? And if not now, what about 20 years from now, as technology keeps improving? Are we doomed as unaugmented humans to simply not be able to grasp the truth of stuff?
You are doomed, Rick, because you're brainwashed. I just got through explaining to you that the FBI is altering documents in order to get a warrant to spy on people you don't like, and you're just fine with it. You see no problem whatsoever.
The guy got fired, okay?
But they still got the warrant. Why is the FBI altering documents, Rick? Think. I thought you said you weren't brainwashed. If you're not brainwashed, then a person that is thinking clearly will say, FBI alters documents. FBI gets warrant to spy on opposing candidate. That must be wrong.
All right, so no, what I'm thinking is...
But you can't do it because you're brainwashed.
No, what I'm thinking is...
There's an argument, there's always an argument, something in your mind. There's a little Democrat in your head that says, no, it's no big deal. So they altered a document. So the FBI, and they did this to the opposing candidate of Obama. Not a problem. I love Obama. Obama would never do anything like that. It doesn't matter. He was fired, right?
All right, so when you apply for a FISA warrant, you have to renew the you have to submit a new application every 3 months. So basically they wanted to surveil the guy they surveilled the guy over a period of a year, Carter Page and related people.
Okay, if you surveil Carter Page, you have the ability, it's called the two-step rule. You can surveil anybody he emailed to and anybody that they emailed to. That brings you up to Trump. So by surveilling Carter Page, they're able to surveil Trump.
Overall, though, the surveillance was legally sound and justified and wasn't the product
Prove
of
it!
political...
Wait. The surveillance was legally sound and justified. You prove that, Rick.
Well,
Prove that. You prove that right this fucking second.
Grab my paper.
Why was it legally sound and justified to surveil Carter Page?
I don't know. I've been saying...
No. Well, I want to know the answer right this second.
Why, asshole? Why?
Because you're brainwashed. You don't
Why
know.
don't you want to fucking
You asked
wait
me a
until
question.
December 9th?
Because I know that it wasn't justified. You know how I know?
Because you're
Do
fucking
you
brainwashed.
know how I know that the surveillance
Make a case.
Wait, Rick. Do you know how I know that the surveillance of Carter Page was unjustified? Do you know how I know
All right,
that?
tell me how you know.
Okay, don't interrupt me. Because Carter Page was never indicted for anything. They never found anything whatsoever. It was completely unjustified. He didn't do anything. In fact, Carter Page was helping the CIA. He was an American agent. He was debriefed by the CIA. He was on our side. There was no reason to surveil our own people. And in fact, I know that's true because he was never indicted. So why is the New York Times telling you this? Why are they telling you it was justified?
Is it the New York Times?
Why is the LA
Times?
Okay, why is the Times telling you that it was justified? Why are they lying to you? And why are you believing them? What evidence do you have that they're telling you the truth? If you're not brainwashed, then somehow you know they're telling you the truth, yet you don't know why. Why are they telling you the truth?
I've been saying, and I'll say it again.
I told you this 8 months ago.
What I've been saying, and I'll say it again. Let's wait until December 9th.
No. I want you to know right now why you believe them when they say that it was justified to investigate Carter Page.
Because
why?
You know why?
Why was it justified, Rick? How do you know they're telling you the truth?
Because I don't distrust every fucking thing that comes out in the newspaper.
You prove it to me right now.
I can't.
Okay, then there is no reason to believe them when I'm telling you.
There is, because...
Well, how do you know I'm lying? How do you know I'm lying? Because I'm a Republican?
Well, because your news sources are so
fucking
biased.
Was Carter Page indicted?
No, but...
Why wasn't he indicted, Rick?
Because the investigation must have shown that he wasn't indictable, that he didn't do...
Right, so he didn't do anything wrong,
but
Rick. Then why was it justified? Why was it justified?
Shut up for a fucking second, asshole. Look, you can investigate people, and those people can end up not to be guilty or not to be... or there can be insufficient evidence. People, when you investigate people, that doesn't mean they're guilty. That means that there's something to investigate.
Really? Why do you surveil American citizens?
Well,
is it okay for Obama to surveil American citizens? Do you like that?
Yeah.
Even when there's no justification?
Are you accusing Obama?
There was enough justification.
Show me the justification. Show me. Prove it.
Are you saying Obama knew? You can't say that Obama knew, Lance.
Yeah, I can, because it was a counterintelligence investigation, and all counterintelligence investigations have to be approved by the American president.
Okay, but the first application was more than 400 pages long. They must have had enough shit to make them wonder what was going on.
Show me.
I can't show you the FISA application. Actually, at some point I can, but I think...
You show me why Carter Page was justified to be surveilled.
All right, here's the deal. I know this. You can tell me I'm wrong. Tell me... No, I know this, that I'm about to say. For the first time in history, it's never been done before, a FISA application has been or will be released to the public, this 412-page document. So there's this document, and there's so much controversy about it that they've decided to release it. I don't know if it's been released yet, so I assume that at some point we will be able to read the whole 400-page thing if we want to. And I assume... And yeah, I'm just assuming that in that document is sufficient material to justify the granting of the warrant. And not just once, but 3 additional times. But that doesn't mean that Carter Page was indictable, apparently, because he wasn't indicted. But it does mean that there was enough shit going on to generate a 400-page application.
You show me. Show me the shit that was going on, or you're brainwashed.
Here's how much I'm brainwashed.
You said one of us is brainwashed, and I'm telling you, I have proof that Carter Page was debriefed by the CIA because he was on our side when he came back from Russia. He was a witness in a trial against a Russian spy, a witness for the United States, and he was never indicted. That is my proof.
All right, then show me your proof. So you can show
that Carter Page wasn't indicted?
Well, no, show me that all this other shit that you're saying, that he was working for the CIA, he was an asset.
He was debriefed by the CIA.
No, he wasn't working for this. He was debriefed by
he was working with the CIA to oppose Russian agents in the United States.
No, so he wasn't working for them before he was debriefed by them.
I don't know that.
Oh, well, you're just assuming, you're just kind of acting as if he was. So you're saying that being debriefed by the CIA is the same thing as working for the CIA.
He was a witness on our side against Russian agents in court trials, yes.
Okay, was this before or after?
If he was a Russian spy, he would not have done that. He was a witness on our side against a Russian spy. He was a witness that helped the CIA prosecute a Russian spy.
Before or after the FISA warrant?
Before. And furthermore, he was not indicted. So there is no justification for him to be surveilled. And the reason you're arguing with me is because you have no proof you're brainwashed. You have no proof.
Here's what brainwashes me, is when I read a bunch of shit in newspapers.
I'm asking you to read a bunch of shit that proves that Carter Page should have been indicted. And you're telling me that you believe the Times, because the Times would never lie to you about anything. You're brainwashed by the Times. That's who's brainwashing you.
And a bunch of other papers. You're saying, and all you're saying that the
Show me the paper that can prove that Carter Page needed to be spied on. Show me that. Show me the Democrat that can prove
what
it.
if I could show you the FISA warrant? You don't believe that?
No, because I don't need it. Because I know
So wait.
on the planet I live on, Carter Page was not indicted. He is a free man. I know that. I don't need the
there are
FISA warrant.
people who are-
And because I'm not brainwashed.
So we should move on, because this is a garbage argument here. All right, what's next?
You wanted to talk about Science Corner.
All right, can we do Science Corner for a sec?
Let's take a break. Let's take a break.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
Just do Science Corner. That's fine.
Okay,
Because you know
all right.
what? If I keep talking, I'm going to have a heart attack.
okay, all right, so Science Corner. I'm just going to make a controversial claim that quantum mechanics and relativity are comprehensible. So, at the end of the 19th century, a lot of people felt that science, specifically physics, was nearly complete. The Newtonian mechanics and the 200 years of further development of Newtonian mechanics since the time of Newton had come up with a physics so precise and complete that there was likely very little more science to be done. That we knew how the universe worked, according to some people. But people were pretty complacent that we were in a good, stable place in science. And then at the turn of the 20th century, two big new theories upended science: quantum mechanics and relativity, which is actually two theories, but they're kind of similar. And they caused a lot of consternation among the scientists at the time, including Einstein, because quantum mechanics says that probability is inextricably part of quantum mechanics, that under quantum mechanics you have limited information. You can't predict things precisely. Newtonian mechanics says you have a clockwork universe, that if you know one moment of the universe, you can predict every subsequent moment out to infinity, because it's a clockwork, completely deterministic universe. Quantum mechanics says that shit is fuzzy and that you can't know things with perfect precision, and a lot of events are probabilistic. A lot of future events could be anything within this range of possibilities, and there's no way to know which of those things is going to turn out to be true when it occurs in the future. And Einstein hated this, and he says that's the source of his famous quote: "You can't play dice, or God doesn't play dice with the universe." Einstein refused to think we lived in an indeterministic universe. And these theories, like relativity, the various relativities have the shape of space changing and time dilating, like clocks moving faster and slower depending on where you're observing them from, and space getting fatter and skinnier depending on how fast you're moving. And Einstein's universe had a set three-dimensional space that was the that existed before everything else and was kind of and was the backdrop of everything happened in this very stable, unchanging, three-dimensional space plus one of time, and nothing got bent by matter or by but the relativities have space bending and time dilating depending on local conditions, and people found this mind-boggling and hard to understand. Arthur Eddington, a scientist who was kind of like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of his time, was asked, some reporter said, is it true that only 3 people understand relativity? And Eddington said, who's the third? The joke being that only he and Einstein understood it. And 50 years later, 40, 50 years later, Richard Feynman, one of the greatest scientists of the middle of the 20th century, said if you think you understand quantum mechanics, then you don't understand quantum mechanics. That it's so weird that nobody can really understand it. But my thesis right now is we've had relativity in quantum mechanics for 100 years, and we've had information theory for 70 years, since 1948, I think was the first paper. And I think that a lot of scientists now understand relativity and quantum mechanics, and a lot of other people intuitively understand it because the world has changed and we are used to dealing with worlds created out of pure information. Bryce here works for a video game company. And people who code video games are building worlds and spaces out of pure information, out of lines of code. So people are more ready to accept the idea of mutable spaces, of spaces that can, of three-dimensional space that depends on what it contains. The people are ready to deal with the idea that the shape of space depends, at least in part, on what the space contains, and that you can build spaces that are changeable, that you can build spaces at all, that we're so used to dealing with worlds of information that we are intuitively better able to picture shit that happens, the shit that happens in quantum mechanics, because you have limited information. Quantum mechanics is the mathematics of how systems with only finite information work. That when you have fuzzy information, you get fuzzy effects that seem weird compared to a clockwork universe, but it's a weirdness that we're increasingly able to deal with. And I'll throw in consciousness too. That for 10,000 years, people couldn't understand consciousness. But now with brain science, with everybody walking around with like a sophisticated information processor in their hand, people are ready to believe. Well, in the U.S., people believe in all sorts of bullshit. Like half of everybody believes in ghosts. But if you went to a country where like people are on the average maybe more rational, like Finland, say, I would say that 2/3 of people surveyed would say that it's likely that consciousness, the mind, is a product of processes occurring in the brain and the nervous system and in our senses. And that our understanding of what consciousness could be in terms of information processing is more sophisticated than people's understanding 100 years ago and 1,000 years ago and 5,000 years ago. And that's it. That's Science Corner.
How can you tie that to Trump and his way of thinking?
I don't know. I mean, when I write a tweet, my temptation is to somehow, it's a bad thing. I mean, Trump hasn't been good for comedy in general. And it's been bad for me in particular because every time I write a tweet, even if it's not about Trump, I'm so pissed off that it makes me want to throw in a line about how Trump is shitty. So I don't know. I mean, so that's my tie-in, that if I were to start tweeting about, I only very occasionally tweet about consciousness and shit like that, but my temptation would be to work in a joke about, I mean, you know, it's a common speculation on Twitter that Trump's thought processes are degrading. That if the people like to say, look at Trump on Howard Stern 15, 20 years ago and compare that to how he speaks now. They said the same thing about Bush 2, W, that they said, look at his speeches before he became president, and then look at them now. And there may be something about the presidency that affects people's communication skills in different ways. That some people may go overboard to be folksy, or may acquire bad rhetorical habits in order, because they feel like they you know, I mean, Trump has done scores of rallies, and maybe that has affected his communication skills, or maybe his brain is getting shittier. He's 73. He's according to his BMI, which is 30.4, he's officially obese. You know, maybe, so who knows?
Lance, does that affect, do you think, does Trump's, the way he talks, do you think that's bad, or do you like the way he talks?
Trump earlier in the within recent memory called Mitt Romney a pompous ass, and the reason is that Trump actually went to Utah to campaign to get Mitt Romney his Senate seat, because he needed Trump to help him. And the first thing Romney does when he gets into office is turn around and start criticizing Trump and saying that he's going to look very seriously at this impeachment. And the president needs all the Republicans to back him up, or he could get impeached. He could get removed from office. So it was probably a mistake to lash out at Romney and call him a pompous ass. But I have to say that, as I've said before, I find it very refreshing to have a man in office that tells you what he's thinking. You know what he's thinking. By the way, I wanted to mention two other facts, okay, since Rick got to talk about his stuff for quite a while. The first is that the reason all this stuff about Biden is so important, it turns out that Biden is still the front runner for the Democrat Party. It turns out that, all the various candidates like Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren and Sanders are somewhat popular in just one region. So it really depends on where you do the poll